Connecting to the Methernet. Methernet now connected.
This is the Wally and Methot Show live. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Mark Methot.
Coming up in the show, lots to talk about today. The chat is open. We are live. Feel free to use that in the YouTube side of things. We have your Olympic announcement coming up. We're going to have our guest help you out with that. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And I would like to point out that on the weekend, I went out and got a tattoo of your face on my belly, and I'm hoping that perhaps you could sign a picture for me.
I can't believe that. We'll touch on that later, I guess, with the guest here. But I'm shocked. I'm looking at these pictures now, and there's some memes floating around. It's pretty funny.
It's horrendous. Okay, we'll ask. Speaking of our guest today, it is Carlo Colaiacovo. He's our guest. He's from TSN Radio. Of course, he's the co-host of the First Up, the morning show. Former Leaf, Red Wing, Blue, Sabre Flyer, and one of your one-time teammates at the World Championships. 470 games. He's been doing a couple of Sens broadcasts this year as well. Always opinionated. I look forward to talking to him. And coming up later in the show, we have a new Gong Show contest coming your way. Great prize that we're going to ask you to do on social media, on Twitter. We're going to look forward to some of your pictures. All right. All that, of course, as always, plenty ahead. And our guest, as we like to say, brought to you by Whitewater, because I always like to get to this part where we get to chat about beer. The cool, refreshing taste of Whitewater beer. Pour a Legion Lager, Farmer's Daughter, Blood Moon, any of their great flavors, and enjoy the show today. Remember, we take care of our viewers, listeners. Go to shopwhitewater.ca and use the Wally Methot coupon code, 15% off. Whitewater, brewed by friends, for friends. And now, one of our good friends. Welcome to the show, Carlo Colaiacovo.
What's up, gentlemen? I'm glad to be on the Methernet. Wow. What an airway to be on, man.
Right? I know. It throws
Enjoy the
people
ride.
off. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It might be the best thing that we've done. How are things with you today? There's so much going on in the world of football, first of all. I know you're a big Bills fan.
Yeah.
You're pretty excited about how Week 18 finished?
I mean, how can't you be, especially with the way the last game of the schedule finished? I mean, thank God the Indianapolis Colts ended up losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, because it provided us with some scenarios that were crazy. And, you know, to think that going into a game, people were cheering for a tie in an NFL football game that we almost watched. That look, Mondays are always great, especially when you're in the sports talk radio industry, because you got 3 days to cover of sports. And when you live in a city like Toronto, you got the Raptors, you got the Leafs, and you got the full slate of the NFL football. So I'm always riding on Monday on maybe 3-4 hours sleep. But you know, when it gives me you know, the amount of content that we can indulge in on a Monday morning, you know, when 4 hours really seems like an hour, because it just flies by with how much we're talking about. Never complain, boys. I'll never complain.
Coco, I wanted to ask you quickly, because I'm not a big football. I don't follow a ton of football. I know you're just a nut when it comes to the Bills and all that. I know. I'm a fair weather guy. I'll watch Brady a little bit, but I saw that Miami, they gassed their head coach, right? What's going on? What's going on with the Dolphins? I don't understand. Everyone's like outraged about it, but I don't understand what's happening.
It's the news that shocked the football world this morning when Brian Flores was fired as the Miami Dolphins head coach. I mean, here's a guy who's come in his third season, has created stability, and, you know, something to look forward to in a Miami Dolphins organization that has just been dreadful since their existence, or at least since Marino left. Maybe they should go hire Snowflake to come in and play, you know, wide receiver for them.
I was waiting for an Ace Ventura plug there.
But yeah, I mean, very surprised move considering they were 8-1 in their last 9 games. But I know behind the scenes, Brian Flores was big on drafting Justin Herbert, and instead the owner and the GM pushed to draft Tua, and you can imagine the bumping of heads that you know, went on behind the scenes. And and all the rumors that, transpired this year of maybe bringing in Deshaun Watson to replace Tua, there was a disconnect there between the coach and the GM, and all these rumors about Harbaugh going in there. Who knows if it's actually true, but, especially as a Bills fan in the AFC East, now that we're the king of the division for the last 2 years, I mean, you want to see all these other teams fail because you want the Bills to sit on top, but definitely a surprising move on my behalf.
Fair enough.
Carlos, I told off the top, you played Leafs, Red Wings, Blues, Sabres, and Flyers, but I want to point out that you are a Senator fan, and now is your chance to finally admit it, because we have evidence. Let me just show you. Here we go.
Oh,
there it is.
Yes, there it is. Look at that quaff.
Carlo Colaiacovo.
Look at the quaff.
It's a Mississauga Senator.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, those were the glory days. Wally, back in my Mississauga Senator days, that's where it all started for me. Big Sens fan. It's a great story how I ended up there. I grew up with a twin brother, and he was a goalie. I was a defenseman, and throughout our whole careers, we were always one of the best players on our teams when we played. And in our minor Adam year, 2 days before training camp, the coach called my dad and cut me instead of my brother. And we were like the package. And my dad was like, "What do you mean you cut him? Like, these guys play together. We're not bringing one in the other." But the team on the Red Wings, the coach on the Red Wings wanted my brother and not me back. And I almost quit hockey because I was so devastated by that decision. And luckily, through some good support from friends and family, they convinced me to keep playing. And the Mississauga Senators called and ironically had 2 positions open, both at goaltender defense. And me and my brother checked over there and turned our careers around. My brother was the best goalie in the league, and I was one of the best defensemen in the league. And ironically, the story, keeping it short, is that summer, the coach from the Red Wings called us back and said, "Hey, I made a mistake. I should have never cut you guys. Would you guys want to come back?" And because we had so many close friends and family on that team, my parents and especially my brother wanted to do it. But I was so happy with my situation and so happy with my playing time and where my career is going that I wasn't really convinced, but I wanted to do what was best for my family. So we agreed to go back verbally, but I still wasn't set on it in my mind. And right before, a week before camp, I had to sit down with my parents, my brother, and I had to tell them, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready to do this. I think this is the wrong move. They cut us for a reason, and, we found a happy place. Let's stay here. So we talked it out. My dad said, "Fine, you guys are big enough. You make your own decisions, but if you're going to make it, you're going to call the coach." So I did the same thing. I called the coach 2 days before camp, and I said, "Hey, we're not coming back." And,
what was his reaction?
Well, he was kind of shocked, but afterwards he kind of, he understood the troll job, I guess, that was created by me, or at least by my parents. But accepted it. And, there's no hard feelings. It is what it is. And ironically, I stuck with the Senators, where I played with guys like Matt Stajan, Matt Foy, my brother, Brian Hayes, who all had extended playing careers, and not one guy on that Toronto Red Wings team ended up making it to play pro at any level. So a great decision for me. I still have, one of my closest coaches, one of the best coaches I've ever had at a minor hockey level, Kevin Rutledge, stay in touch with me, who's still a big part of that organization. So I always find time in the off season. And here in Ontario, it's been tough with COVID the last couple of, off seasons to reconnect with some of the kids. But the Mississauga Senators, buddy, they hold a real true place in my heart.
I heard you mention Matt Foy. Because I remember playing against him in the OHL, especially my first year. Because he's a year or two older than I was. But remember, him and Corey Locke were sick.
Lit up the league in Ottawa.
Matt Foy. I'm looking at his numbers here because you brought him up right away. He had a 60-goal season with the Ottawa 67s, but played 56 NHL games. That's wild. Like what happened there?
And he played for the Wild, ironically.
Yeah, he did.
You know what, Meth, you would probably know this as well as I do, that in the NHL, it's an easy place to get to because teams are willing to give you a chance, but it's the hardest thing to stay there. And some guys get it and some guys don't. And for Matt Foy, he got the opportunity to be there because he was a great skater. He was, very skilled, put up a lot of points in junior, but I think his just head wasn't on straight, to do the things that he had to do to keep him there. And that's a problem that a lot of, hockey players run into. And what I also factor too is that there's a lot of guys that come up through the junior ranks, they get put in a position to succeed in the junior levels, but when they come up in the NHL, they play a fourth line role, third line role, and they're not really in their comfort zone. They don't know, and they don't know how to adjust. And that is the biggest factor of, getting there and staying there, is you got to learn to adjust and adapt to the, to the situations, or at least the opportunities that you're given. And for Matt, he just wasn't able to do that.
Yeah. Well said.
It's funny you bring that up. It's because one of the topics that I want to talk about is great expectations. We look at in Ottawa, Jake Sanderson and Tyler Clevin, who turned 20 today, is another one. And of course, Jacob Bernard-Docker, and specifically defenseman. Carlo, you were drafted 17th overall. You were one of the all-stars at the World Juniors in 2003. And Matthew had a complete different path. But the expectations for you, I remember when I was going into Toronto, I think they had a picture in the media room, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, they've already built statues to Carlo Colaiacovo." Like the expectation and pressure on you must have been ridiculous. Being a Toronto native, first-round pick, like what was it like for you to try and make your way in the NHL?
Yeah, they were extremely high. Not really warranted on my part, but just the expectation of being a young local kid and playing for the Maple Leafs. And the tough part for me was I was a young kid growing up in an old man's room in Toronto, because the next oldest player in that locker room in my rookie year was 29 years old, and I was a 19-year-old. And with Pat Quinn being the coach, he surrounded himself and built this team around older veteran players, and that's just the way the game was back then. And I think because I had such a good World Juniors and such a good junior career and drafted so high, the expectation was there, but the expectation didn't meet the sort of chance that I was given. I mean, I had a great training camp my first year. I actually led the team in scoring and forced them to sign me out of training camp. But they didn't allow me to build on that momentum. They sat me for 9 games in a row as a healthy scratch, and then put me in, and I got an assist in my first game. I played the next game, and then they, after the second game, they sat me for 9 more games and then released me to the World Juniors. So it was a hard sort of situation for me to build off of right off the bat, because I built so much great momentum, and then it was all taken away from me right off the bat. So, and then, you sort of, you complement that with the injuries that I suffered earlier in my career. And, I wish the information, or at least the attention to nutrition and to training, was the same as it was now back in, my early part of my careers, where, you were given the education on how to treat things and how to, sort of maintain your a snowball effect of negativity, being injury prone and can never be trusted and stuff like that. So that was just a hard thing for me to overcome in Toronto. Not just with the expectation of being the next up and coming, but it was everything that came with it too, that I just had a hard time sort of I didn't have a hard time accepting it. I had a hard time eliminating it, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't mentally strong. And I think that's what I sort of give myself a lot of credit for throughout my career, is that I dealt with a lot, but I always knew when I was at the rink what I needed to focus on. It was just, Toronto's a tough market to have that happen to you.
Yeah, and I think just to quickly touch on that, I know I'm sorry, Wally. I was just going to say, because I don't want to lose this thought. He mentioned the stuff that we wish we had known when we were younger, right? And same applies. I'm a little younger than Coco, but not by much. But I remember like playing in the American League. Like we would all run to the Olive Garden, and I'm making lighter of the situation, so I apologize. But we would run to the Olive Garden, and I would smash like for pregame meal, right? And you'd smash this huge bowl, and I went there because all the veterans were going there, and you'd have this huge bowl of creamy pasta with like free breadsticks, which were unlimited, with like an Alfredo sauce side.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be hammering that with like either a raspberry iced tea or Coke or something. And it's like, all right, I guess I'm going to go home and nap. So you go into a coma for 2 hours, right? And then you're on the ice and you're like, wow, I feel like shit.
I remember my junior career, I couldn't function unless I had a 3-hour nap. And now it's like 3-hour nap. I'm ruined. I went from starting my career with a 3-hour nap to like barely napping at the end of my career. But the other thing too, man, is not just the meals and the nutrition. It was the game day prep. Like how often would you warm up before a game back in your minor hockey league days? Like we get to the rink 10 minutes before the game, I strap my equipment on and go play. Right. So like now it's different. The kids are brought up differently. They get to the rink, they do their pregame, exercises and warm-ups and routines, stuff like that. And, like same thing that happens in the NHL. It's almost like what you do before the game is what gets you through the game. And then what gets you through the game is what you have to take care of after the game. Right. Absolutely. It's a cycle that you build that really, because the game has changed so much. Back in the day, there wasn't really much attention to it. And because I played with Meth, did you grow up playing with those Douglas shoulder pads?
I did. When I was in Pee Wee, I had them. Yeah, they were huge.
So that's like when I played hockey and I put those Douglas shoulder pads on, I felt like I was untouchable. Like you put those things on and you're like, nobody can hurt me because I'm wearing these pads that would just bounce people off of me. And so
they were like linebacker pads.
Right. That's why I played with those so much reckless abandon, because nothing hurt. Then they start eliminating all those pads and those and it's like everything. Like anytime you throw a body check, you feel everything, and it's like, no thanks. I'll just practice. I'll just practice moving the puck.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
So what advice do you have? So Sens fans are pretty wound and excited, obviously, for Jake Sanderson to come up, and they think he's going to step right in the lineup and be really, really good right away. Same maybe for Tyler, not so much Tyler Kleven, but he's got a chance. And then JBD, who's already in the lineup. Like, having gone through what you've gone through, are you able to try and get people to, I don't know, pump the brakes, for lack of a better term, on expectations?
Well, the expectations always have to be tempered a little bit because you don't really have any solid veteran presence on that Ottawa Senators blue line that can help these kids feel a little bit more comfortable. Yes, you've got Shabbat. Yes, you've got Zaitsev, but these guys haven't been part of a winning team to actually, help these kids develop in the right way. And the way I look at it too is, and Meth could count for this too. When I grew up in the NHL, I never came in and was started or given top pairing minutes. It was always like you come in and you buy your time and you wait while you're watching veteran guys play the game. The game has changed so much that there's so much of an expectation around these younger players to come in and be the player that you expect them to be right away, which is the wrong assessment to have with these young players. But there's also has to be a grace period too, where you're going to accept the growth and development and the mistakes that come with it, but also, preach the right messaging through practicing, through video. Like later on in my career, that's where I learned a lot about playing the defense position, is the access to video. And as much as I hated watching video, like I hated watching hockey because we watched so much video time after time, but now, I have no choice because it's the job that I chose. But going and watching my shifts after every game now gave me a different perspective of what I saw when I played firsthand and what, people who are judging me or grading me are seeing. So that can be a huge tool to some of these young kids. But the best thing for development, I think, right now is your practice habits. Because you're not always gonna get the situations that you envision in a game, but where you're gonna fine tune your game are in practices. And it's not necessarily the A's and B's that you do during a drill. It's the compete level that you show in practice, because you got to be able to translate that to a game.
Yeah. I know. And I was going to say to that point, and this is something that Wally and I always talk about when we're talking to guys like Drake Batherson, who train out east with guys like McKinnon and Crosby. And the one takeaway that we always get from hearing these stories is that they're so incredibly competitive out there. Like I'm talking like guys like Sid and they're out
these
there.
These guys are all veterans in the league.
That's what I'm saying. And they're still working their asses off. Like they're not taking any shifts off. And this is in the summertime when no one's watching. So Imagine having a presence like that. And this gets back to my point that you were just talking about. Having good veterans on your team is huge because everybody just absorbs all that information. If you're a young player and you're watching a 10-year veteran work his tail off in practice, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to copy off of that guy, right? You're going to learn from him. You're going to learn all his good habits that he's doing, and and subconsciously you apply it to your game when you're starting out. So I think with the current decor, aside from maybe Shabbat, who's sort of an anomaly because he plays 30 minutes a night, so you're not going to expect him to be driving the ship in practice every day. He's probably going to be taking a lot of days off, but they're missing veterans back there. And I know you pay a lot more attention to Toronto, of course, Coco. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Wally.
What about Michael Del Zotto then? Should Michael Del Zotto, who's now scoring at will in Belleville, should he be in the lineup?
Right.
Carlo?
Yeah, but Michael Del Zotto was sort of a fringe player the last couple seasons, right? I mean, he was playing in Columbus a little bit where that brought him back to life, but that was a very poor defensive team that he was playing on. So it's not really a good benchmark to use, right? So I don't know that that's the right player. That's all I'm saying. Nothing against him.
That veteran presence.
Yeah. Well, look, I can't. To me,
go ahead.
Like I play with Del Zotto. He's a close friend of mine, and I'm not just saying this because he's a close friend, but I was really happy that the Ottawa Senators signed him because I thought he was the perfect fit for what that team was trying to build on with their defense. I just don't understand the situation. They brought him in to be that veteran presence guy, and they never gave him a chance right off the bat. They sort of made up their mind on him, and I know just in speaking with him, the frustration with him was that he was never really given a chance to get going. It was like they get him a game and he'd sit back. They get him a game. And you know what that's like, Meth. It's like it's a mental grind now, right? It's not just going out and knowing how to play the game and you're just focusing on playing that. And it just it surprises me that the Ottawa Senators have made that choice with a veteran guy like that, because to help accelerate your rebuild, you're going to need more guys like that around to help make these younger guys feel more comfortable. Because and this is the trend that sort of bothers me about hockey. It's no secret. I don't think anybody will deny that the game is getting younger. But I think what teams fail to understand is the importance of having, veteran guys around to help these younger players, because you can't just have a whole mix of younger guys. Who's going to teach these guys? Who's going to show these guys how to handle themselves playing the game? Right?
Yeah, and I think initially, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, because sometimes you can't always rely on the coach. Sometimes these veteran players are sort of guys that help the coach relay those same messages with younger players.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think initially that's where the coaching staff, and I hate being critical of coaches because I know how hard it is, but I think initially in Ottawa, the issue was just that they created this revolving door right from the get-go. So to your point, they never let him establish himself, right? Like right away, he was in and out of the lineup almost immediately when the season started, and it never really gave him a chance to kind of get to know or create any kind of chemistry with any defenseman, right? So they just kept switching things up, and it was constant. And then all of a sudden, everyone's asking, well, why are the D playing so poorly? It's because there's zero chemistry between any of the pairings.
Right.
So that's been an issue here for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point, Meth.
Michael Del Zotto, 2 goals, 6 points in 10 games for the Ottawa Senators.
He's
pretty
lighting
good numbers,
it up.
But again, and especially now down in Belleville, he's been putting up great points. That leads me to another point. You bring up coaches all the time here. We've seen a coaching change in Vancouver work out very well with Bruce Boudreau, who's now 8-0-1. There was talk, had there been an Ottawa Senator game tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, which has been postponed, and they'll never.
What's it been, like a month since the Sens have played?
January 1st when they got pumped by Toronto, right? And they played one game since December the 18th. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
So there was a report from ESPN, I think Emily Kaplan said, if Ottawa were to beat Edmonton, that Dave Tippett would have gotten fired tonight. So do both of you have played with significant midseason coaching changes? In fact, Meth, you had 1 year where there were 3 head coaches. You went Gallant to Jerry Agnew to Ken Hitchcock in Columbus. Do midseason coaching changes really work? I know for you, I looked it up, Carlo, you had 2, Andy Murray to Davis Payne, and then Davis Payne to Ken Hitchcock. Hitch put up some pretty good numbers when you came in, but do they work?
It depends on the situation, right? I think early season coaching moves have a chance to work out because there's an expectation that is given to the group that it's not meeting. And the guy brought in, I know with Ken Hitchcock, it was absolutely the right move that we needed because we entered that season with incredible expectations, and under Davis Payne, we weren't meeting them. And Ken Hitchcock, it's ironic that me and Meth played for him at the World Championships that same summer. So I got to learn a little bit about Ken Hitchcock and who he was and the way he coached. And I was actually excited about the move because you knew what type of resume that he had. You saw the way he coached the game, and I was happy for that move. To me, the one thing that bothers me the most about coaching changes nowadays is I think a lot of them are made because the GMs can't make any trades.
Exactly.
And the salary cap has played a huge factor in that. And, you know, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because, you know, like what I heard in Philly, the coaching wasn't the problem. It was the personnel that was the problem there. And they couldn't change the personnel. So what do you resort to? You resort to firing your coaches to see if that could create a spark with a group. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're seeing the magic that it's creating in Vancouver. Great. I mean, you know, you love to see that because maybe that was, you know, just Travis Green being able to take this team as far as he potentially could, and just, you know, every coach has a shelf life, and maybe his shelf life just ran out with that team. But I mean, unless they're for the right reasons, I'm not a big fan of coaching changes in the middle of the season just to spark the team. You know, I wish the NHL would find a way to be more flexible with its cap to sort of allow teams to make trades when they necessarily need to, so that you're not resorting to firing coaches all the time. Because it seems like we're firing more coaches than we're trading players in the beginning of the year. And how fun is that? Like, what type of fans are you really generating when that's the message that you're creating? So, you know, that's just where I stand on it. And unless it's a coach that's coming in and completely changing the culture or completely changing the messaging, then yeah, there's a reason for it. But again, I think each situation represents its own reason for, you know, whether or not you want to have a change or not.
Yeah. And you know, like when you're on a team that's struggling big time, you know, you've got a leadership group, and typically,
right,
you know, the GM has aligned to some of those players, particularly guys like the captain, and they can always pick their brains too. But I agree with Coco there. It's like you see it all too much nowadays, where it's a knee-jerk reaction to appease the fan base. Team struggling. Oh, I got to make a move now. Well, I can't get rid of all these players. I'm going to fire the coach. Let's make a splash, and then we're going to hire somebody else. It's like oftentimes,
to be honest
really
with you,
anything.
Right. Like, to be honest with you, you want to make the Edmonton comparison. I don't think Tippett's the problem in Edmonton.
No.
Anybody who watches Edmonton knows what the problem is, and it's been the same problem for the last 3 years. It's their goaltending. But who are they going to go out and get? You can't go. They're up right up against the cap, right? So that's why people want Tippett gone. It's because, you know, they're in the middle of a slump, and thank God they got off to the start that they did, because they're able to tread water right now, going through COVID and the streak that they're on. But I mean, Kenny Holland has his hands full because he has good players in front of him, but they can't keep the puck out of the net.
Well, their best goaltender's a 39-year-old that isn't healthy all the time. So
right?
It's like, obviously,
and they have another year of him. They have another year of him.
Yeah,
and a 2-year deal.
I agree, and that's no disrespect to Mike Smith, because he is healthy, he's been really good for them. But the problem is, you know what it's like. You get into your later 30s, especially if you're a goalie, like, you're not going to be a starter anymore, or typically not necessarily a starter, because it's hard to stay healthy in this league. It's a young man's game now, and it's so easy to fire the coach. So I think we both agree that too often we see it. It's just not the right play.
Meth, I'm 38 years old, about to be 39 at the end of the month. And I can't even imagine if I was still playing now, based on how bad my body feels.
Wait,
so I still
don't ruin my
work
Olympic
out,
announcement.
Yeah, no. I was going to say I still work out like crazy because I'm obsessed.
Lucky
obviously.
you, man.
But I sublexed my shoulder. Like I sprained it like last week from doing too much chest. So now my shoulder's effed. I can't do anything. I can barely shovel snow. I can't even play with my kids. And I'm like, what has happened to me? So yeah, I mean, anyway,
the thing is that you work out at your own pleasure, at your own pace.
Yes,
you're not doing it
correct
to sort of to get yourself ready for something. And that's something that
there's a
I
huge
want
difference.
to get to one day. Absolutely there is.
Yeah. There's a huge difference between playing and working out, play hockey, like where you're doing all that dynamic stuff, the box jumping and the sprinting. I'm in there just doing slow
Get
movements.
out of here, man.
Yeah.
Deadlifts, you'll never see me attached to another deadlift ever again.
No chance. Yeah, I like my back where it is.
Exactly.
This is leading me right down the road to the big Olympic announcement today that we have, and that's last week there was our friend Sean Simpson tweeted out about putting Meth on the Olympic team because we need some replacements clearly, and along with Chris Phillips, and you replied, Meth, if Philly can't go, I would gladly pair up with Carlo Colaiacovo, which you said would be an honor. So I'm right now, can we get, although it seems like you guys may be on the fence about this, can we get some commitment that you two are in for the Olympics if need be? If your country called on you, would you be ready?
If I got a call from Shane Doan and he was actually serious about me, giving me a spot in the Olympic, I would need 3 months to get myself back into shape because I haven't put a pair of skates on in almost 2 years, and mostly because of the pandemic. I mean, I was doing on-ice training, skill training with Power Edge Pro, in my retirement. But not only that, I'm probably about 30 pounds overweight that I need to lose. And so as much as that would be an unbelievable honor, and believe me, if I put my mind to it and dedicated myself to it, I could get there and actually put myself in a position to perform, but I'm just not mentally there. Like, I have no desire. Like I did some renos to my basement, and I was helping my contractor the other day tape my baseboards, and walking around on my knees, I actually taped my hockey shin pads to my legs so I could crawl around on the floor on my knees.
Yeah.
And just the smell of my hockey bag, I'm like, no, I have no desire to put any of you back on. But if I was to do it with Meth, I would 100% try to make it happen.
Yeah, do it with or on Meth would be a good idea. I think for me, it just comes to Wally's already cringing. I just, you know what? I'm with Coco. Like I think if my knee, like I've been skating a little bit. I've been going to the outdoor rink with my son. He's 4. I'm trying to get him to learn how to skate. Unfortunately, you got to register online to reserve time slots, which I think I'm not going to get into that. My opinions are probably very unpopular, but I've been taking him on the ice, outdoor rinks, practicing, and my knee felt pretty good. So there is a little bit of light here, I think. And so
you
Shane Doan does call
with your knees too. Right?
Oh, dude, it won't go away. Like it's. I don't know. We'll see. But it's the one thing in modern sports medicine that they haven't fixed yet, and it's cartilage, and that's my issue. And I think a lot of players can understand where I'm coming from. So, Anyway,
I've got the same. I actually had to retire from Germany, because I played 2 years in Europe, and I went 8 years in a row with no significant injury. And then my last year was actually the last Olympic year where I was actually excited about playing in Europe, knowing that I had a chance to be on that Olympic team. I was on the short list of, one of the names potentially to go. But right before they named the team, I tore my MCL and I missed 10 weeks. So, I caught a bad break and I haven't been able to recover from it because, I tried to come back that same season and then I popped my shoulder out twice. And when you know, buddy, I always said I'd play as long as my body allowed me to play. And clearly my body was telling me to call it quits. So.
Yeah, we sound like a bunch of old war horses at the bar, talking about how we could potentially play if we wanted to.
Right.
As we're pile driving chicken wings and beers,
So I enjoy the Sundays on my couch now watching football rather than Sundays trying to prepare for hockey.
So the Olympic announcement is on hold for now. I'll write it down that you guys are undecided about coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they delay it, if they actually delay it to the following year, like the Summer Olympics did, maybe I'll put more of an effort towards getting myself into shape.
Okay. We're gonna switch gears, and we got some other things to talk about. One of them is your teammate that you guys both played with in 2011. This is brought to you by SportsInteraction.com. Go to sportsinteraction.com, Canada's online casino and sportsbook. Sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot, the most competitive odds As once we said, they are daily sports betting all across the globe. They are Canada's online casino and sportsbook. Okay, so let me just go to 2011 for a sec. You guys both played at the World Championships. You played under Ken Hitchcock. You lost in the gold medal game, but that roster on the Russian side was like they had Ovechkin and Radulov and Maxim Afinogenov, Dmitry Kalinin, Vladimir Tarasenko. There's all kinds of guys on that roster. Like,
right?
That was a quarter.
Because Russia was playing playing so poorly throughout the tournament that they seeded lower. And then all of a sudden, all these Russian superstars came over for that quarterfinal.
Ovechkin, They got all the
NHL guys, and a couple other guys.
They got all the NHL guys from Washington to come play for them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What a
God, that still leaves a bitter taste in my mouth.
You guys had such a good roster. I mean, I
still blame Dion Phaneuf. No,
and we were playing. So for that game though, I believe that game not in Belarus, or where was it? Like
that game was
that game in
Bratislava.
Was at the Orange Arena.
Bratislava.
Oh, Bratislava. I'm sorry, Bratislava.
Yes.
And like the crowd. Do you remember that, Coco? Like we walked in there. It was insane. It was like the Red Army was watching us play, and
it was incredible.
I mean, the vibe was unbelievable.
So that World Championship experience, and I got a chance to go play in the Spengler Cup a couple years later during the lockout shortened season. And those two European experiences are actually what sold me to go finish my career in Europe. Because it's unbelievable, the game over there. Like, I don't think there's a great enough appreciation for, like, people talk about how the game is different. Yeah, it's different. But there's also a good difference of why it's different, because the experience that the fans give you when you play in front of them, it's soccer style atmospheres. It's awesome. Yes. Absolutely awesome. I wish there would be a way the NHL and their fans can adapt that sort of viewing experience for this type of hockey.
Well, so could you imagine all the corporate seats in Toronto getting up and chanting and wearing war paint? I mean, I don't think so.
Beating a drum. Boom.
You're right.
But I agree with, joking aside, I agree with Coco. Like, when you go there and you have no idea what to expect, which was my position. I never played in the World Juniors or anything like that. So that was my first time. Yeah. And I get over there and I'm like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Everyone was so loud and into the game, and they're all on their feet. Like, half the building, I believe it was on the end zones, right? Like behind the nets. They're all standing up and chanting and stuff. Yeah. It is.
There's no
awesome.
Seats.
And so there's exactly. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of fun.
It was the only event I asked every year to go cover, no matter where it was, because the atmosphere around it, regardless of the city, is phenomenal. Whenever you let the Latvian or the Belarusian fans in, they were drunk for an entire week, and it's outstanding to watch.
And it's funny you say that, Wally. You said it was the event you wanted to go cover. It was the event every year I asked to go play in. I was asking every time we were out of the playoffs. I'm like, can I go play at the Worlds? Can I go play at the Worlds? And it's like, I remember that year that I came, because it was in Košice, there was a lot of guys that backed out. Nobody was excited about the destination for it. And so I went on a bachelor party to Vegas during like my time wait, and then as I got back, I got a call from Dave Nonis and says, "Hey, so do you still want to come play for us?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" But I hadn't skated in like 10 days, so I needed a little bit of time to get myself back up to par there. But it was well worth it, man. Well worth it. I would do anything to get another opportunity to do it again.
Amen.
That was one of my scariest interviews. I was interviewing Dion Phaneuf, and it was Luke Schen's first year. He's a rookie in Toronto. And I had asked Dion about Luke, and I was like, whatever it was. And at the very end of the interview, I went, "Thanks very much, Luke," to Dion. And I thought he might tear my head off.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to walk away right now. Yeah. It's a good tournament. But one player on that team that you're both familiar with, Evander Kane, who's come under a little bit of an issue of late. I don't want to get into all of it because neither one of you know exactly what's going on. Well, if you do, please feel free to tell me. As a teammate, do you do you want that distraction anywhere near your locker room? And I don't know what's going on. It just seems like regardless, it's still a distraction.
Well, I'll be honest with you because I just played with him recently in 2015, I believe 15 or 16 in Buffalo. And he was an awesome teammate. I'm not going to lie. I hung out with him a lot. He was a great guy. Guys loved him around the room. I just think his reputation has taken so much of a beating over the last couple of years that the interest of having him a teammate anymore has sort of disintegrated. Because I just think he's a guy that obviously doesn't prioritize certain relationships and certain opportunities or advantages that he has over other people. And it just seems like we can't go a month without his name popping up in the news that is something controversial. So, you know, when a team like San Jose, and all I ever knew, you know, playing in the NHL and playing against San Jose is that was one of the closest knit locker rooms that ever existed in the NHL. Like the culture there was just amazing. He went into that locker room with guys like Marleau, Pavelski, and Thornton, and other veteran guys like Brent Burns and Vlasic. And now he's a guy that nobody there wants anymore. So what does that tell you about the person and what he's become? He has gotten himself caught up to so many other bad things that don't involve hockey away from the game that I think it's affected his relationships with everybody within the game, including his teammates. And to be honest with you, he has nobody to blame but himself.
And that same issue happened in Winnipeg, which met him or allowed him, I guess, got to Buffalo and then on to San Jose, is that something has always followed him. So why is it that teams continue to give him another shot? Well, I know he led San Jose in scoring last year. I know he can play the game. Is that the only reason? Is it worth your room to bring in a player that was going to perhaps cause so many issues? I don't. Well, at some point, does there have to be no?
In that case, it's like anything, right? In any line of work, always make sure your talent outweighs your baggage. And I think with him, he's always put up pretty good numbers. You know, we look at his numbers. I think he was just playing in the American League just now recently, right? Yeah, where was he playing? Because I heard he's been putting up good numbers. So so like he's a good player. And to add to Coco's point there, when I played with him at the Worlds, that's when I got to know him a little bit. I was doing workouts with him. You know, he's coming into the gym with me. We were training together. Around, man. Yeah, like really nice guy, like outgoing, super friendly, no problems there. But then all of a sudden, you know, like you said, you start surrounding yourself perhaps with the wrong people outside of the rink or whatever it is. And those are easy distractions that can create some nasty headlines. And then, you know, I can't speak to how he's been over the last couple seasons. And you made a really good point there, Carlo, about that San Jose locker room. And if you can't get integrated into a strong room like that, then there's something going on. So I can't pretend to get into his mind and understand that. But from my personal experience playing with him, he's been nothing but good and friendly. So the whole thing is perplexing to me because what a waste of talent, right? I mean, you look at the player.
Absolute waste of talent, man.
Yeah, and he's a physical specimen. He's one of those guys that doesn't even need to do a whole lot off the ice. He's ripped. He's in great shape. He's got a lot of natural athletic ability, and he's able to apply that to his on-ice performance. It's frustrating because here I am, like, you know, you and me, Carlo, like we're all beat up and hurt, and we'd do anything to go back and play right now.
Right.
And I
make the type of money he was making.
Yeah, $7 million.
Exactly. Like, could you imagine? So, you know, I guess my closing point is that from my experience, he's a really good dude. You know, he was a really excellent hockey player. He still is, as far as I'm concerned, probably a pretty good player up to today. But just again, just too much baggage at this point, and it's a huge risk for a lot of teams.
8 points in 5 AHL games for him.
There you go.
Well, look, I mean, to follow on Meth's point, I mean, here's a guy who clearly shows he can put numbers up on the ice, but he's also a guy that shows he can create problems off the ice. And I just know from speaking to some of his teammates in San Jose last year, it just got to a point where they just couldn't handle it anymore, right? Yeah. And you hoped that everything he's been through in the offseason with his own personal life, with, you know, the bankruptcy and his own relationship, that he would have found a way to at least prioritize the things that are important to him, the things that he needs to change. And, and next thing you know, we're hearing about him submitting a fake vaccine card and breaking COVID protocols. It's like he's putting himself above everything else that exists. So look, I don't know how this plays. I don't think there's a team out there that, would give him a chance. I could be wrong, but I think there's enough information out there about the guy that, will definitely raise eyebrows and at least allow you to question whether or not you want to put him in. I believe in second chances. I'm a big favor of, allowing people to allow themselves to change and better themselves and stuff like that. But how many chances are you really willing to give this guy before he realizes that everything he's done up at this point has not only hurt him, but his family and the people that he surrounds himself with?
Agreed.
Switching topics, we'll go from one end to the extreme other. You brought up Joe Thornton and Joe Pavelski the other day. There's pictures of them meeting at center ice to have a photo taken together.
I love it.
Everybody's all happy. Somehow people are upset about this. And how dare you be happy to talk to ex-teammates? Have either one of are either one of you like, yeah, no. People are like, how could they possibly leave all that stuff till after when you're having beers? So my point is,
there's pregame warm-ups.
I know what it is. Is there ever a time when you're like this is nonsense? We should be allowed to say hi to whoever. I'm just curious. Yeah. Has anybody ever said to you in the locker room, like, hey, put your game face on and don't be nice to that guy?
Look, I'll just touch on it really quickly before Coco interjects. That's just plain stupid. These are obviously people that don't play the game and or people that are out of touch. I'm all for being serious when the puck drops and you obviously have no friends. You do your job. But in pregame warm-ups, we see brothers take pictures all the time at center ice when they're on opposing teams, and no one's criticizing them. Yeah. These guys are basically brothers. They played together forever, and I just think that's just nonsense. People are just talking out of their ass. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm with you, Meth. I mean, look, warm-ups is the time to have fun gimmicks and fun chirps with guys across the ice, and if you have moments like this, I mean. If you have moments I can just picture what Florida's locker room was saying after they came in from warm. I was like, oh, Jumbo, big money on the board. You and Pav, and Pav were having a big picture on the ice. You two old goats and stuff like that. Like it just creates good camaraderie, especially when it's done in warm up. It's a difference if it's done within the game, and especially what the situation is in the game. If you're the guy on the receiving end of a bad loss or on the
or is it a playoff game?
There's a playoff, and older guys like this know not to create this type of situation when the intensity is risen because it doesn't set a good example. But for warm-ups, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys were shooting pucks at each other and maybe telling the trainers to go staple their pants together, their dress pants together, so when they go and put their pant legs on that they can't get their legs through and stuff like that. So I'm all for it, man. We need more fun stuff like this that we see in the game.
I agree.
All right, my last point is actually I got two more. Before I get to the last one. Carlo, what is your favorite snack? It is a big part of our show. Everybody is all in.
Wow.
We need to know before I get to the next one. Yeah, what it is.
I got two favorite snacks. I love me a nice bag of potato chips. Any type of flavored potato chips.
Yes.
It's my pet peeve, and actually my father-in-law is a bad example of it. I can't stand when I go into somebody's pantry and I see a bag of original potato chips. Like, who eats original potato chips?
Oh, I do all the time.
Are you serious? Christ. You actually go buy original flavored potato chips?
Yeah.
Like, because I
like them with my sandwich. Yeah.
What?
Okay, fair. But think if you put a Dorito in there, how much? Oh yeah, but I don't do it with original chips. I do it with Doritos because it gives you the flavor and the crunch.
I'm gonna let you guys talk.
You can't eat too many.
I don't do that.
Spice it up, baby.
All right.
And my other favorite snack is beef jerky. You can never say no to beef.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, nice little golf course.
I like it well
too.
done. If anybody. Yeah, oh, for sure.
Original chips.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad we waited to chirp me until the end, because I would like to know, as we put up this photo, who wore this better. I have found your two headshots, which is arguably from maybe your first 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll say this.
This
Coco,
is impressive.
Like Coco looks like a mug. It looks like a mug shot. Like it looks like he's some like retired NFL player that's been arrested for a DUI. And I don't know. I look like a teenager. I've got acne all over my face. My hair's out of control. But that was the style. Look at Coco's hair.
You have teeth.
Yeah, I got teeth there. Yeah, that was before taking a couple pucks to the mouth.
Yeah. Well, I actually got chirped about this online the other day by Jesse Pollock from Bar Down, saying it was the porcupine look. I mean, the difference between me and Meth is I actually have product in my hair. Where Meth is sort of like you just woke up and that's just the way your hair looked from the head on the pillow. But I mean, back in the day, I mean, that's what I did. I just grabbed the gel that was in the locker room and just did this a little bit with my hair and gave it the old messy look.
Was the style. Coco, that was the style, though. Like, it was that messy, like that depth. Messy you could buy, like, the different levels, right? Like, from, like, 1 to 8 as far as hold control.
Dippity-doo.
Dippity-doo, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Is this, Meth, how, like, is there a hair dryer used in this?
You know what? No, that was probably just, that was like training camp, right? So that means I probably had product in my hair the night before, went to bed,
guaranteed,
put a hat on. I put a hat on and then I took it off and I just kind of like did that and I took the picture. I don't know what I was thinking, but here we are.
Looks good.
So for a guy that's pretty clean cut, that you would go to your team photo and go, yeah, I nailed it with this picture. Like,
Wally,
I'm
when
ready
you're 18 years old, you're not thinking like an administrative assistant, okay? You're not thinking about those things. You're thinking about
Wally,
hockey and
you know what the worst thing is? You know what the worst thing is that most of the time you don't know it's the team photo until you show up at the rink.
True.
And you show up at the rink, you're wearing a toque, you're wearing a hat, you've got your gitch on, maybe you've got your lower. And guys are okay, guys, we got team picture today. It's like the last thing I want to do is go do that's why I love my job right now. I do radio. I don't have to do my hair. I just put a hat on all the time. Look at this mug. Like I hate doing my hair.
Yeah, we don't have physicals either. We're fitness testing and then all the EKGs my last training camp in Dallas, we had to drop our pants. I hadn't had to do that in a while. We had to drop our pants and the doctor had to examine everything. It was very weird. It was weird.
The cough test?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird one for sure.
I'm alive,
but
so it's all good.
That's the one thing I don't miss either, a fitness test. Man, I hated that fat caliper test. Oh, man.
Oh,
I hope whoever invented those things would go to hell because I hated those things. Those things ruined my weekends. Everything.
Yeah, man. So when Coco and I played, especially back 10, 15 years ago, that was a big thing. They'd have these big metal calipers. They don't really do it anymore because body types aren't necessarily indicative anymore. They've learned of what your on-ice performance can deliver because everyone's got a different body makeup. So they would grab. So I was always pretty lean, so I was lucky. But then you'd get a guy that might be a little heavier, and they would just pull a chunk out of your arm. And like some of that had to be muscle, right? And they'd be like, it's 17% right there. And you'd be like, no, do it again. And you'd like subtly flex your arm in hopes that it would tighten up your skin.
I'll never forget.
They don't do that anymore.
You leave the game on Saturday night, and on the board as you're walking out says body fat Monday morning, and it's like,
yeah.
Damn you. That stress out Saturday night, stress out all day Sunday, and then you do the body fat test, and you're like, when you're done, you're like, whew, all right, where are we going for lunch, boys? Like,
no one was drinking beers, so like they'd be drinking vodka waters at the bar that night, thinking that that's going to help.
Empty calories.
Okay. Anyway,
that's
good. Before we bring in Craig, my last question, Carlo, is: do you wish you played for the Sens? Having grown up as a Mississauga Senator, I'm going to bring this all the way back. Were you hoping that one day you could play for the Ottawa Senators?
Be honest.
I'm not going to lie to you, Wally. I truly did wish one day I was playing for the Sens because when I grew up, the Sens were a powerhouse. Like my first couple years in the NHL playing with the Leafs, we were staring up at Ottawa all the time. And so not only did you want to play for, maybe teams with logos that you played for growing up, but you wanted to play for good teams in the NHL. And, unfortunately for me in my early part of my career, when Toronto was good, I was an extra player. And then when it was my turn to step in, we went through that rebuild, and those were tough years, man, especially in this market. Yeah. So for sure. I would have loved to play with Spezza, Havlat, Hossa, Alfredson, Phillips,
Heatley,
you name it, man.
Chara.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that you were a big Sens fan, you never scored against Ottawa at the Canadian Tire Center in your career. So
never.
No.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. That was one building that I absolutely hated playing in. One, because it was so dark in that building, and two, I couldn't stand that damn horn. And I heard it so much. I heard it
Via
so
rail
much
horn.
when I was there. Yeah.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a tough. And they had a tough. Sorry, last point. They had a really shitty locker room, for the visitors when you walked in there.
Oh,
like it was really kind of broken up and dirty.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of nowhere too. The bus ride was like 30 minutes long. It was like the worst.
Can't start on that again, can we?
No, we're gonna leave that alone.
We're gonna build one downtown. Okay.
I hope so.
Anyway,
I hope so.
Carlo, thank you for stopping by. Good luck to your Bills on the weekend.
Thanks, guys.
We look forward to maybe having you back on to have a little more chat about your glory days and how you love playing against the Sens.
Anytime, boys. You got it. Thanks for having me on.
Go.
Have a great week. Good seeing you, boys. Take care.
There goes Carlo Colaiacovo, one of the co-hosts of First Up on TSN Radio, as we now get set to bring in our good friend, as always, Greg, who's been chilling in the back.
Hey guys, what's up?
He's a really good dude, and I know you guys, Meth, played that one tournament together. You didn't know him really before that, though, did you?
No, but a lot like what we just saw in that interview, that's exactly how he is in real life. He loves to chat, and he's very outgoing, and it's not like he wasn't like an awkward guy to be around initially. Some guys are a little more reserved. He was right away off the bat, like chatting everybody up. So all of a sudden you feel like you've known him for 10 years. So really good guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Craig, how are things?
Good, man. That was a great show, boys. It was a lot of fun. Carlo was having some Methot issues to start there. It figured itself out.
Saw that.
I was worried. I was like, man, am I going to have to make another? Like, now I got to I was trying to think of a name, and I was like, oh, God. So anyways, it cleared itself out. So that was thankful, at least. But,
I just want to get TELUS as a sponsor, just so that I don't have to complain about Bell or Rogers and just say we're on TELUS and it's a very good network. Anyway, one of these days.
Right. Something came up in the chat there. Did you want to chat about Jake Sanderson and the Olympics?
Meth. Yep. Jake Sanderson's going to go as he's accepted the invitation.
He heard that you weren't going, probably, and he firmed up his confirmation after that. So I think once you guys said you were out, you got cleared the road for him, and he was happy to, I think, go play for USA. He doesn't have to worry about.
I don't blame him. He doesn't have to worry about my hips. No, kidding aside, he's a terrific talent, and I mean, for him to go over there, I think it'll be really good for him. And you see it with a lot of guys that go play in these international tournaments against really good players. You learn a lot from it. You play against all these guys that you can learn from that you think perhaps might be a step ahead of you, and then you get in there and you realize, boy, I'm just as good as these players. I belong here. So it's a really good learning experience for him, and I think that he'll benefit greatly from it, especially for that pro level switch when he does graduate on to the next level.
Wally, what do you think about Jake Sanderson's decision here? Because I mean, he will have played some college, then juniors, and now Olympics, and then back to college, and then maybe NHL. Like, that's a busy season for a guy. What do you think of his thoughts to maybe do that?
Well, the one thing is you always want to play against the best competition. It's what always makes you better, right? Is the Olympics going to be the best competition? No, but you think of at the time it's the best players they can assemble. It's on a world stage. It's everything except playing against obviously Crosby and McDavid, which I understand is a big deal, but point is that they are on the big stage. You can't get any better than that at the moment. You're at the Olympics. Like, you soak that all in. It can only benefit you. There's nothing outside of an injury, God forbid, there's nothing else, any other reason not to go to the Olympics or not to do this. What a year, though, to do all that. Like,
yeah, really.
Sorry, Meth.
No, it was a bad joke that I just bit my tongue on. I probably shouldn't say it. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, I look forward to it. Just like Owen Power at the World Championships, right? And then does World Junior. When you think of Mason McTavish, I'm not sure exactly how the dates line up, but he went U18, World Junior, World Championships, like all that stuff, possibly the Olympics, all in a short time frame. Like you can't. It only helps to benefit you to play all that kind of high level international hockey.
Yeah, McTavish was traded today too, right? In the O, he's heading to Hamilton. I think I saw.
Got traded tonight, Hamilton. Yeah, for two players and 6 draft picks.
Yeah, he's good. I think. And they're going to get him for just a couple weeks here, right? Essentially, down the
Chandler Romeo was traded a Sens draft pick from Hamilton to Sarnia. I can't remember where he was.
Yeah, I think it was Sarnia.
Anyway. Yeah. All good. Cool. If the Sens ever play again, we'll actually talk about the Senators and some hockey at some point. But we got to wait till at least Thursday to find out. Yeah.
Like I'm looking at their lineups and I'm thinking like, what does this even matter right now? You know, like I've got it all written down here, and it's like it won't make a difference until they play their first game. They're going to play against Calgary though, aren't they?
Well, they flew and thought they were playing Edmonton the next day, right? Like,
yeah, but Calgary has already had their bout. They've already kind of dealt with their COVID. Oh, okay.
Right, I get that, but we don't know in the next 2 days what's going to transpire. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, fair enough. I'm just saying,
they should be playing.
Yeah. Meth, what do you think about that? They flew all the way out to Edmonton to just practice in Edmonton essentially for a handful and hang out there. How brutal a road trip is that okay? Like you're in one place, I guess, for a while, but
I'd say that it would be a good thing if you weren't following all these mandates, like, you know, whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. The point is, if you're going over there and you're able to do fun things, that's one thing. But I believe they've re-implemented these pretty strict team rules, right, to eliminate all the COVID stuff. So they're probably just secluded in their rooms, not allowed to do anything, and then go to the rink, come back. So in this case, it would suck. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't think it would be very enjoyable. Yeah. Edmonton, there's not a whole lot to do there when the circumstances are good. And I'm not shitting. Whoa. Yeah. And I'm not pooping on Edmonton right now. I'm just saying we're talking about it's January. It's really cold. And now you've got these new strict rules that have been implemented by the team, the organization. It's not ideal. So I'm sure the guys are kind of kicking themselves a little bit, but it's out of their control.
I did Edmonton twice, I think. But the first time I went to Edmonton, we had a day off. I think we flew in the day before or whatever it was. I made sure I went to the mall just so I could see them all. And like, this is all I did. Took a $20 taxi.
Yeah, the West Edmonton Mall. And like, but as a player, and you guys can both relate to this because you've traveled with the teams and you've been all over the road in the NHL. There are way better malls to go to, right? Like you go to that cool outlet in like Florida. Minnesota. There's a nice mall in New Jersey, Minnesota. Yeah, like. And the shopping down there is much better. So, I mean, you know, for us to go to a mall in Edmonton that's not a deal maker for anybody, I don't think.
It's cool for Edmonton, but it's like, just shit talking them all now.
Shit talking all these Canadian cities. I'm sorry.
We'll just move on. Yeah. By the way, hold on. There's one thing. I just saw this in the chat somewhere. Dylan Sharpley asking why weren't the Senators games being canceled early on when they had all these cases? Same with the Islanders. It's because they were the guinea pigs. If nobody really understood or knew what to do at the time.
Yeah, they were the first team, right?
Right. Ottawa was really the first team down. And then right away, I think like a few days later, the Islanders were again in the same boat. So they got, did they unfairly maybe have to go through this, but they just didn't know how to deal with it. So we got to give them a little bit of a break here with the NHL of saying they just didn't understand at the time of how to handle it. Everybody keeps saying, the league is after Ottawa. Well, it could have been any team. The Islanders were right in the same boat, and they had to go through the same thing. So
what a grind the rest of the season is going to be. Once they reschedule all these games, though, they're going to be playing like, that's going to be a battle, especially like on
that's where I
don't. Not to.
I was just going to say the teams that have all the depth are really going to have a huge advantage, right? Because you're going to see a lot of injuries. At least I think you're going to, with little recovery that between games. It's going to be interesting.
Do they play 82 games?
Ooh, I don't know.
The more this goes,
a good question.
I think they really want to.
Right. For money, they owe money, then they owe advertisers, they owe television broadcasters because of all that stuff, right? There's so much money involved. And then you have to do all these make goods and make them all up for advertising. It's not worth it financially. They're going to try and jam those 82 in. But if this keeps going, are we going to be interested to see the toll it takes on the players and how many games they get in?
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. I couldn't imagine that schedule. It was bad. It was bad at other times, and it's so condensed. No, thank you.
Yeah. So we have a contest to tell you about.
Yeah. Here, why not do that? Our good friends at Gong Show, right up there. They gave us a puck luck game to give away. These things are pretty dope. Incredibly entertaining. Shooter tutor meets hockey sauce game. That's sure to have people lining up at your cottage, road trips, beaches, vacations, wherever else you can set this thing up. What a great opportunity to stand a certain distance away from your friends and shoot a puck.
Make sure it's 6 feet.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And one of the few things we can do at the moment right now is the puck luck game. So why don't we give one away? If you like it and you want to check it out, head on over to gongshow.com.
Oh my.
But we got a contest. So it's such a bummer that a lot of these kids' practices and sports and everything else are getting delayed and shut down just like everything else is at the moment. We wanted to kind of go down memory lane here a little bit. And so if you could tweet us a pic of your favorite memory playing sports, you can see us right up here with the hashtag Wally Methot. You will enter you into a chance to win one of those very dope puck luck games from Gong Show. Winner can be announced on our January 24th show. Yes. Do you want to start ripping on these picks because there's some pretty good ones?
Okay, just so we're clear, that's in the blue hockey jerseys as Meth and his brother Matt. Meth would be, as you can assume, the guy with his fingers in his mouth.
No, that is my brother. My younger brother. I'm on the left. And I thought that was I think I'm just upset. I'm upset with my bowl cut. My brother's got a more aggressive bowl cut, but I have one too. But that was sort of the style.
He wears it better.
I think that was 89 or 90. I forget what year that was. But yeah, we were both playing on the same team for that year. And I shouldn't have been in that league at that point. That was my second year playing. And I think I had 100 goals that season. So I didn't belong there. It got to the point where I would carry the puck up the ice and then drop pass it to my brother, my younger brother, in the crease, and he would just smack it in the net.
Nice. So
yeah, I just want you guys. You guys look handsome.
Okay.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Alex, if you can zoom the photo of the football uniform, I'm going to explain something here. This is me, by the way, playing football in grade 7. I'm a little embarrassed about this photo. I'm the offensive lineman, by the way. So when I got to the
with
football,
those legs, with those twigs,
it gets worse. So we go to football tryouts or whatever happens, and my buddy next to me is like, and I don't know anything about football. This may shock you. And he says, when they ask you for offense, you raise your hand. I'm like, okay, cool. I want to play offense. So they said, okay, who wants to be offensive line? And I was like, oh no. So now I'm an offensive lineman. I am the right tackle. There is foam under my jersey wrapped into my forearms. Each game, you can see it hanging out of the jersey. There's pink foam as I'm trying to protect my arms because these much bigger gentlemen are coming after me while I'm playing football. So I'm an offensive lineman. Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
you can see there's the pink foam.
That's awesome.
That is horrendous.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that was
Greg found the best photo he could of himself.
Yeah, were you any good here? Were you any good as an offensive tackle? At
I never gave up a sack or anything.
Okay, that's good.
Our team dominated, so no one got by me.
That's good.
Yeah,
number 11, kind of a weird number for the offensive line, but okay, it's fine.
Yeah, probably the only thing that fit me. Yeah, 66 was just too big.
Yeah, I couldn't find.
Greg, I didn't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I didn't know Craig was a Raider. You were an Nepean Raider?
Oh boy, there's a story there. But yes, I played there for a little bit, and then I my career took me elsewhere in hockey. But I was gonna say that's the old. How old were you in that picture there, Brett? Let's figure out how much older you are than me. Look at those brown pads. I would say we're as a goalie there. What?
I'm gonna. Ooh, jeez. I'm gonna 8, 9.
Okay, I'm probably like that? I might be 10, 11 in this picture.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna say maybe 10 or 11.
The advancement in goalie gear alone.
The rink boards by the way, it's chain link fencing as the glass for my arena.
I miss that.
Yeah, exactly.
I still remember a tournament we played in Repentigny, like just outside of Quebec City, I think. I forget where it is exactly. But everybody smoked in the building. We won the tournament. It was Pee Wee, I think. But same thing. Chain link fence. Fans are right above you, and everyone was hacking darts in the building. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was wild, man. Like, you're trying to play a hockey game as a kid, and you're just breathing in all this cigarette smoke.
Yeah, my dad's a big fan of the show here, so he'll hear this. But yeah, that was we used to commute a little bit once I started getting a little older, play a little further out. And yeah, he would just like couple darts to and from, and then it's like, hey, where'd my sports-induced asthma come from, Dad?
Well, and that was funny. Yeah, like
he quit years ago. He's good, but yes, I took the brunt of it as a kid.
It was normal. My brother played with the 67s, right? And Brian Kilray was hacking stogies at the front of the bus the whole time, and it was like not a big. And that was not that long ago, by the way. And he was still smoking cigars. So a lot has changed over the years.
Yeah, well, I did the World Championships in Zurich. I don't know. I think, Meth, were you not in Zurich? Anyway, they were smoking in the building. Like, you could see the blue haze over top. I'm like, we're at the World Championships, and they're just doing darts left and right.
How did we let that go on for so long? How did we let people smoke inside for
crazy?
We did. Why did we do that? Hospitals,
guys. I used to go. I was 17 or 18, and I used to go to Cosmo. It was across the way on the Quebec side, the bar. It was a club. Most of us were all underagers. And, we'd pre-drink at the house, get in the car, go to Cosmo. And everyone was smoking cigarettes in there. Like, everybody. It was very normal, And so you'd get home, and I'm young, so I didn't know any better. I'd get to bed. I didn't shower. No, and then in the next morning, I'd wake up. You hop in the hot shower, and you could just smell the smoke coming off your hair and your body. It was crazy. Just goes to show you how toxic that shit was.
Yeah, man. And they just used to do it all the time. We talked about our parents and stuff, but like, yeah, you're right, man. Yeah. Everywhere. You used to be able to smoking and non-smoking in restaurants. It's like, how do you – everything's smoking then. Come on. We let them run too much. If there's any smokers out there, enough of this.
Yeah. They say smoking turns your hair gray, by the way. I will take this point to say I used to smoke. So
that's not good.
Here it is. So I covered the Montreal Canadiens in 1997, and I'm standing at the glass at the Molson Center, and the Buffalo Sabres are skating, and everybody was smoking in the building, like we're in Quebec. So I'm just on a dart, whatever, and he taps on the glass, and this is Rob Ray. You can't smoke in here. And I was like, this is the middle of his practice. I'm like, yes, we can. No, you can't. And I'm like, yeah, we can. So I just walk away. In the locker room afterwards, he sees me, he goes, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, we're allowed to smoke in the building. He's like, do you not know how bad that is for you? And the other guy I'm with, Barry Morgan from Sportsnet at the time, who's a worse smoker than I was, actually stepped away. He was like, yeah, Brent. It's like, wait a sec. And I was just like, I'm getting yelled at by Rob Ray, and I was terrified. Anyway, I think that may have been the last time I ever smoked in the building when the players were skating. It never clued into me at the time, obviously, about not smoking around the players.
Yeah.
When did you quit smoking? How long ago? You don't smoke. Okay, you don't smoke now. I haven't seen you smoke, so you don't smoke today.
2004-ish.
Okay. Do you ever miss
Wally,
it?
Somewhere around.
If you crack a Whitewater, do you get tempted to light one up?
No, I didn't like to smoke when I drank. I was the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'm hoping that my kids aren't listening. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought it was fun that Carlo was ragging on you for just eating like regular chips too. I thought that was pretty funny. fits right in on the plate.
They're so good. I feed them, my dog and I, we share a bag together sometimes. Yeah.
You shouldn't feed your dog chips.
Nice.
That's what Craig says.
Yeah,
someone was ripping on me in the chat here a second ago, asking why I shave the mustache and leave the beard. And it's
I like it. You always do that.
Yeah, the wife hates the mustache. She doesn't like it. So, and I don't like being babyface because I look like an idiot. So you kind of have to balance it out. So you kind of treat it. Sometimes I'll let it grow in. Yeah. Okay. I let it grow. Okay. I let it grow once for the entire season. It was like October to like April or whatever it was, and like it was so long and ridiculous. But yeah, the wife hates the mustache stubble, so I keep it short there.
Mine hates it when I'm clean shaven. Like I hate growing beards. I like to be clean shaven and professional looking. But like, what does that say about my relationship? That she needs me to mask my face in order for her to be able to look at me.
Oh.
She likes a handsome boy, a rugged, burly handsome boy. I think it works good. Wally, are you gonna grow you? What's the longest you've let it go? We've seen some stubble on here before.
Wally doesn't grow it out ever.
I was never allowed to at TSN either. You had to have a full beard or no beard. So, but there's a few shows early on where I was like, I don't want to shave anymore. I don't have to. I don't need to be on TV or whatever. And people got mad at me in the chat and they were sending me notes and they were like, shave that right now. So I just shave it now. I would grow it.
Because a little scruff just looks like you look disheveled. Dirty. But if you commit to it for like 2 weeks, then starts to look normal. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll try.
Yeah,
we'll see.
There he is.
Meth, you should do that.
No,
go for the full beard.
No, I can't.
You and I could be like ZZ Top for Halloween.
So those guys make it look cool. So I can't. I'm not chirping ZZ Top. Anyway,
man, I want to say it was like 2015, 2016 or so. There was a stretch where everybody on the Sens, they were all growing their hair long. Like Meth, you had it pretty long for a while there too. I remember
my hair, like, or my
your hair, just the long flow,
head hair. Yeah. I don't know why. That was unfortunate. Like I look back at some of those pics. Why didn't I just cut it? What was I doing? Some guys don't look good. I looked like Vigo from Ghostbusters. You know, like the Carpathian, the guy it doesn't. I don't know. Not a great hairline. It didn't look good. But then, guy like Eric walks in looking like Fabio. I'm like, maybe I'm trying to look like him. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, we had a lot of Mika had long hair. Jared Cowan had long hair. Like there was a stretch where I was on like
man bun
reporting. It was terrible. Yeah, it was awful. Brent, what about you? What's the longest hair?
The man bun.
If you can't grow the beard, I imagine you never look at their hair go long.
I'm so happy. You know, all the gym bros that were walking around with those man buns for a while. I'm so happy that phase is gone. It was painful.
Oh my,
doesn't look good.
Last.
Yeah,
no. Brent, what's the longest you've let the
and the hairband?
I think I think it looks like he's 10.
Is anybody, Craig? Is anybody even listening to us at this point?
I think. Are we still live? This feels like this is the conversation we have afterwards. Anyways, it's like, Brent, how long was your hair ago? Yeah, you smoked that kind of stuff. So, we're just peeling the onion today. I like it.
Grade 8, I think, was the longest my hair was ever. I think it touched maybe below the collar.
Nice.
Yeah, that was about it. But that's when I had my collar pop too. So a grade 8.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's probably.
They weren't ready in high school for that.
I have lots of stories. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Okay.
It's a good idea.
We'll be back on Thursday. We're hoping we're gonna have a senator join us at that time. We're still working on logistics, as you can tell. The things that are going on in Edmonton is fluid, so we're hoping we will have a Ottawa Senator guest for you on Thursday. But for now, that is the Wally Methot Show, boys. Thanks again to Carlo Colaiacovo for coming on. Great time with him, and we will see you in a few days.